Hello everyone, so hope you have been well. So for today's parkour theory, we're going to talk about Yukimi, the art or the science of how to fall. So let's establish a fact. Falling is a matter of when. It is inevitable. Whether you are practicing parkour or not, you will fall. But training parkour forces you to be exposed to your fear through obstacles. This exposure, while it tempers you to become stronger through its process, is worthy to note that the obstacles with the fear it entails will still contain the risks and the elements of danger necessarily to overcome, but in order for you to break your glass ceiling of potential into your growth. Facing it voluntarily doesn't diminish all the fear and the danger, nor does it make it easier. But in doing so, it's your best bet, and it does not necessarily mean that you will succeed. In fact, this class is going to cover a degree of what to do when you don't succeed, and how best to set yourself up when you've fallen short. Sometimes you just don't get off unscathed from a situation turned wrong, and you're merely trying your best to make the best of minimizing a terrible situation with as minor negative impact as possible. A lesson I personally believe every leader must go through in life when it comes to decision making. So I introduced this class earlier as Yukimi. So what is Yukimi? Where does it come from? Yukimi is a Japanese term that seeks to explain the science or the art of falling used by traditional martial arts. Yukimi, or in Chinese, Shou Sheng, which is the Japanese kanji, has the same meaning as the Chinese characters, literally receiving body or self. In the simplest term possible, the Yuki, part of Yukimi, as in Tori, and Yuke means receiving, and is a person who is on the receiving end of a throw. This is always used in a passive sense, while Mi represents me as in self or your body. Now that was some fun fact, wasn't it? Now to address the once controversial topic in parkour, learn flips. Learn flips because it enhances your air awareness, which is crucial, absolutely vital when you are screwing up and have that sense of suspension in the air of 1 or 2 seconds. Air awareness in sports science term is proprioception, also referred to as kinesthesia. It is the perception or the awareness of the position and the movement of the body. It is the uncanny sense of your limb and your space. It's often described as a form of sixth sense, mediated by proprioceptors, macrosensory neurons located within the muscles, tendons, and joints. Basically, it comes from the body collecting data by tiny internal receptors as input throughout the nervous system, giving continuous flow of information on the angle of the limbs relative to the body, and it turns it into a shock absorber. This information becomes absolutely vital for those milliseconds to react, where you realize that you have messed up and need to execute the following procedures. That moment in the air is not time for you to think about life, ponder about life choices, see your life flash past before your eyes, or enjoy the suspension of airtime. This is where your setup determines how you can make the best of a horrible thing that have gone wrong situation. It may even at times be a matter of life or death, in sometimes disability. That's why the process of learning flips is an important aspect. It is also, tumbling. In this clip, you're gonna see that I was attempting a simple cartwheel, and then that went wrong. But because I was so used to the backflip motion by now, it came down in a sense to become a semi-handspring. It doesn't matter what flip you start, so long as you're comfortable and eventually get down onto the journey. Of course, for me to pull off that, there has to be a few other factors, which is another important aspect to surviving falls. It is developing your body armor. Now, what is body armor? So it's a topic I will elaborate extensively in another video. A little added note, generally, when bracing for impact, tuck your chin in. This will help prevent a certain degree of backsplash of impact into your neck. Moving on. So we're going to talk about 4 quadrants of falling, and here you can see Obviously, you need to minimize quadrant 4 where you don't know what you don't know as much as possible through acquiring as much knowledge as possible, filling up quadrant 1 to 3 instead. But quadrant 4 also refers to situations where there are instances that you have no idea or have any means of preparation for what is going to happen. An example is suddenly the lights went out, or a woman or a man screamed at you or throw an object at you suddenly and unexpectedly. These are instances where you, while startled, must not allow it to affect your being, spirit, focus, or concentration as much as you can. It is things that are really outside of your sphere of influence, of your sphere of immediate control. Quadrant 3, know what you don't know, refers to understanding the landing surfaces and the structural integrity of the surfaces that you're landing on. As such, it has to be a matter that you inspect as much as you can, especially during the training phase, because there's no one to rush you, or at least it is not a pressured situation. Moreover, it is not a matter that can be resolved once, but it requires your attention every now and then, according to the situation. Different surfaces requires different attention to detail. For example, when attempting an arm jump, cat leap to cat hang, and that you're landing onto a wooden surface, it is good if your hands are slightly sweaty, because that will help enhance your grip. However, the same sweaty palm will not fare as well when it comes to dealing with a granite surface. Rather, a palm that is as dry as possible will be more suitable, and this can be achieved by rubbing your hands against your shoes or the surface they are landing at. As such, more preparation timing is required for both your hands and the landing surface. Covering all bases includes even the often overlooked matter such as cleaning the surface of your takeoff, also your landing. Other aspects of knowing what you don't know and how to minimize it is the possibility of passerby in your path of your route or line. As such, it would be wise to get a friend to stand in as a lookout. Notice here that I have a student to be a lookout for passerbys that I can't anticipate. However, if you are training alone, then you know that you would only have a limited amount of time before the possibility of a passerby coming to your path. As such, from the moment you leave from your lookout to the starting point of your attempt, you have to seize that moment, that opportunity, and not waste the attempt. Now, the basic job scope of a lookout would be: number 1, notify you of passerby before you attempt. Number 2, halt approaching passerby from your line once you have committed to your move. In other cases, you will be having a spotter to assist you that you might focus entirely on committing to the move, whilst trusting your spotter to help handle certain aspects in your breaking fall.
Sure.
The importance of a spotter cannot be understated. I grew up with the ideology that one man can make all the difference in the world, that one can put 100 to flight, 2 can put 1,000 to flight, an army can take on the world. But with trustworthy, capable friends who are rooted together and will spur each other onwards, whilst holding out for each other if one stumbles, you will certainly achieve your goal faster than doing it alone. It's the same, and it is true for your parkour training. A spotter can't really just be anyone, and it's really much like choosing your friends. There is a certain degree of criteria that they must fulfill and meet. Number 1, to be able to bear your weight, and ideally more, because there is an additional kinetic force involved. So in this case, I was trusting my student Sam to cover my back and hold me up if I had fallen backwards. Number 2, understanding when to intervene or not too much mid-motion and disrupt your move. So here I intervene when my student stumbled mid-motion to steady her, but quickly move away once she got back on track. So number 3, have a fundamental know-how to deviate or slow your kinetic force down if necessary. Here I slow my student Zach's kinetic force forward as I uphold him, but not too much that I break his arm, as I shift him to the side so as not to fall on him after he has, come to a halt. Number 4, one that is willing to take the blow for you if need be. Here, my student Casman stepped in and steadied me as I slipped, whereas he could have been in harm's way as well if he had fallen forward. Of course, he would need to take care of himself in that case, in addition to taking care of me. So in this case, I have another example, but it wasn't recorded. So my student Kong and then he kind of like slipped midway and have to step in to prevent him from knocking into structures. And as a result, he kind of like elbowed me in my jaw. And to this day, I kind of like have a loose jaw because of that. But that's what it takes to steady someone, to spot someone. Number 5, alleviate from you at least one, or if possible, more angles and aspects of breaking fall that you only need to worry about the ones left. In this clip, to help my student Brandon with his breaking jump, the rest of the students and me cover the various bases if he falls. So the prerequisite listed above certainly helps to set your mind to ease and raise your confidence for you to commit to your execution. Kindly recognize that chances are your training partner might not have all the prerequisites listed. However, having checked as much will certainly provide a better ease of mind for you to focus on committing to the move. As nice as it is to be carried, such training relationship can only go as far, with each willing to carry their own weight as far as possible as well. Having a lookout, a spotter is awesome, but as with all things in life, over-reliance is never a good thing. Being able to carry yourself as far as you can go comes with an immense sense of achievement. Moreover, you don't want to be overburdensome to other people. Burden. The final point on this quadrant, set yourself a tentative fixed number of tries based on the effort matrix. Because there is wisdom in knowing that you don't know yourself as much as you think you do. What do I mean? No matter how strong you are, usually your challenge, especially at the breaking jump tier, is proportionate to your strength. As such, you actually have a very limited number of muscular strength, and as such, limited amount of attempts in your training before you have to rest yet again, because it will be really risky otherwise. As such, based on the above, it is clear that at many times the preparation, whereas more time consuming, is just as important as the execution. With all the above in place, it is still very much a lot of factors that you couldn't know, and with fingers crossing that your pals will all hold the line. Thus, why this is very much within the know what you don't know zone. Quadrant 2, know what not to do when you fall. It's basically your Ukemi, knowing how to fall, hence falling forward. This is another means that allows you to train progressively, that even if you fall, even if you fail to achieve your goals or your breaking jump, you can always live to survive another day, to try again with the knowledge of how to improve further. It is knowing the fundamentals of falling and what to avoid. And this will be explored in depth later in the video. Now, quadrant 1 is know what to do when you fall. It's kind of like you're progressing forward. It's closely tied with the former, and it is the second half of your Ukemi. I decided to segment it for better information retention. It is basically what is covered in the progressive progression video, taking the steps to gradually progress forward for you to be better acquainted with the space, with the challenges that you intend to undertake, and ensure longevity in your practice. So falling, in this case, ties closely to specific techniques later in this video, and also the to fall progressively forward video. This will be more covered in depth in preferably another video. So onwards we tread. Given this class focus is on the science of falling. You know when you mess up and you have that moment of, oh shit, that suspended time of split seconds for you to choose how to react and find the best possible landing. Well, if not, at least minimize as much as possible the incoming damage to be taken. That split second of air awareness is especially crucial when you accidentally mess up in your execution. That it was at that moment, you up. So in the midst of producing the video, it turned out to be rather lengthy. As such, I decided to segment it into 3 different parts. I hope you have enjoyed the first part, which is identifying the 4 quadrants of falling. Stay tuned for the next segment where I'll cover in depth the common techniques to falling safely. Until the next time, see ya!